Welcome! Today we start PowerPoint. Now most of you are familiar with PowerPoint. In this screen you can go to New. You can choose different types of presentations, or you can open a presentation that already exists. We're going to open a presentation that already exists so that we can see the different features. Now first thing we want to look at is the different ways to view. Just like Word had different views, you have different views in PowerPoint. Normal is what you're used to seeing. That's what happened when I opened it up. You have an outline view. You go into outline view, you can actually add information on the side. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to add information, notice how I am typing on the side here, the outline, and it's adding it to my slide. So I can do, as I typed in the outline, it added it to my screen here. It's a nice way to organize your slides. You also have slide sorter. Slide sorter would let you organize and rearrange your slides. Notes. You can add notes to the bottom of each slide. Reading mode just shows you what your slides look like, what your slide would look like in a presentation. You also have ruler, grid lines, and guides to help you. The zoom. You can also change it. If you knew you were going to print a presentation, you can change it to different kinds of grayscales. Most of what you're going to start off doing. So, a few things to look at. When you go into slide, new slide, of what kind of slides to add, you can also duplicate the selected slide, which means you can make an exact copy. You also can do slides from outline. That means if you click this, you can have an outline you've already made up and pull it in. Reuse slides lets you open up another presentation, and if you click on the slide, it'll put it in. Notice how I clicked on it over here, it added it over there. So you would click on where you want it to go in, and click on the slide you're adding, and it adds it underneath. This would be a way to combine two presentations, or to take information from one and put it in the other. Printing options are very similar, but we have a few added. You can print all slides. You can print them full page. You may do full page. You can do a notes page, which means if you had added any notes, it would print your notes with it. You can do handouts. You can do an outline. The outline just gives you your content. This might be good if you wanted a copy in front of you when you're presenting. Now for something a little bit new. When you save a presentation, generally it does not save the fonts. It saves the information about which fonts to use. But if you go to a computer that doesn't have those fonts, you may notice that it defaults to a different font. You may embed the fonts. In order to embed fonts, you would go to File. Then you would go into Options, and then there's a Save. Embed fonts in the file. When you go to the Design tab, you also have different themes you can choose. You can change it, and it will change the different files in your presentation. Within themes, there are color schemes or variants. I have one other thing, and this is probably the most important thing for you to remember. We're going to go back to Insert because I want you to look at this slide. You're responsible for all the information on the slide. You need to know this. I am holding you to these standards on every presentation you do from this point forward. The first thing I want you to know is you need to be brief. You need to make one major point per slide and add a couple of supporting details. Next, you need to keep your text short. Bullet points, sentence fragments. Do not have a paragraph. In a presentation, it is meant for you to put your key points on the slide and keep the rest of the information is going to be delivered during the presentation. Focus on content. You're going to have the desire to get super fancy, formatting, make it do crazy things. Look at these neat things I found. Remember, the purpose of a presentation is to give information, not to show off how fancy you can do with transitions and everything else. Keep it simple. Your graphics need to be relevant. Don't care how cute the pictures are. If you are putting graphics in, they need to relate. And yes, you need to have graphics. Consistency. Going for different types of fonts. Changing colors dramatically. Changing the background. Pick a design and stick with the way that design presents. Make sure people can read it. Have somebody else read it. And practice your presentation. All these things are important. You need to know these things. You need to be able to be responsible for these things. This is probably one of the most important things you need to know. Or you should use this for every presentation you do. This presentation here was just designed to give you an overview, remind you of some of the things. I didn't go into how to change fonts. I didn't go into how to change, add bullet points. You know all that stuff already. If you look at this home tab, most of it is very similar to what you have seen. Your insert tab, there's going to be some differences. Understand you're still responsible for everything you learned in Word. You still have Format Painter. You still have a lot of the tools you used in Word. We are just extending what you learned into another format.